Mental health is now one of the largest and fastest growing VA disability categories, veterans, right up there with tinnitus and musculoskeletal conditions. PTSD, anxiety disorders, major depressive disorder, and adjustment disorders are on the rise. Okay. What have I told you that one of the fastest growing VA disability categories right now isn't your physical injuries, but it's your mental health? And most veterans still don't know how powerful this shift really is. Today in this live stream, I'm breaking down the VA mental health statistics, why VA claims are skyrocketing, and what this means for your compensation, your rating veterans, in your future. So let's get into it, okay? There are over 2.8 million veterans, which are now service connected for mental health conditions, according to the latest data from the Veterans Benefits Administration. That figure reflects a double digit increase from 2024, making VA mental health claims one of the fastest growing disability categories in the entire VA disability system. While PTSD remains the most common, with roughly 1.5 over just 1.5 million service-connected veterans. Conditions like depression and adjustment disorder, continue to rise as awareness improves and stigma fades. So mental health now accounts for nearly 7% of all VA service-connected disabilities, which is a record high. Okay, mental health claims have jumped since over 75% since 2020, and over 160,000 plus new mental health ratings were granted in fiscal year 2024 alone, showing that the stigma around mental health is absolutely lifting. A single PTSD or mental health rating commonly falls between 50 and 70%, with annual compensation varying by year and by dependents as well too. Okay, so 2 million, over 2,800,000 plus total mental health disabilities and counting. Year over year growth is over 16%. Okay, PTSD leads the charge with over 1.5 million veterans with PTSD. That's over 50% of all veterans with mental health ratings are diagnosed and have PTSD. Over 350,000 have major depression, and over 209,000 have adjustment disorder, according to the latest Veterans Benefits Administration data. Okay, so this is one of the fastest growing VA disability categories, the mental health. 1 in 3 new VA claims includes a mental health condition. Okay, and mental health conditions are among the top reasons veterans receive 50% to 100% VA ratings. Since 2020, new VA mental health claims have jumped over 75%, from over 92,000 to over 163,000 claims. There was a 16.4% increase in new VA mental health claims in the fiscal year of 2024 alone. That is insane. Total service connected mental health disabilities have risen from 2,019,718 to over 2,800,000 plus claims, which is an increase of more than 817,000 in 4 years. Every one of those new service connections represent a veteran who finally pursued the rating that they deserve. Okay, let's talk about PTSD here for a little bit. 1.6 million veterans and continuing on. PTSD is the clear leader with over 1.5 million service connected veterans. Over 55% of all mental health disabilities are PTSD service connected, and over 81,000 new PTSD service connected disabilities alone were granted in fiscal year 2024. It's the only mental health condition in the VA's top 10 overall disabilities, sitting at number 6, just behind hearing loss. This aligns with The broader National Institute of Health data showing PTSD lifetime prevalence among U.S. veterans at 7% versus 6% in civilians. So, PTSD rates, according to the National Institute of Health, are slightly higher for veterans over civilian citizens who have never served. Rates are even higher among combat exposed groups like Iraq and Afghanistan veterans. VA mental health conditions like PTSD are rated obviously under the 38 Code of Federal Regulations with possible percentages of 0, 10, 30, 50, 70, and 100% ratings depending on the frequency, severity, and duration. A 0% rating obviously pays no compensation, but you're still service connected. And a PTSD rating between 10 and 100% varies and depends for a single dependent how much they get with no dependents, or if you have dependents, a spouse or not. The VA rating for PTSD obviously is based on how it affects your occupational and social functioning. Beyond the PTSD, right? While PTSD accounts for most VA mental health service connected disabilities, major depressive disorder, so depression and chronic adjustment disorder round out the top three mental health claims for veterans in VA disability claims. Anxiety disorders, panic disorder, bipolar disorder are also appearing quite frequently, and most veterans carry two or three separate mental health diagnoses. So it's important to note that you can only be rated by the VA for one mental health condition. So you cannot have depression and PTSD and get two separate ratings for that. Okay. You cannot do that. You may have a couple different diagnoses as you seek treatment over the years, and the psychologists that maybe you've seen have treated you and said, okay, this is in alignment with PTSD or other stressor related disorder, or we feel like there's a little bit of depression going on. So you may have several diagnoses. However, the VA is going to dial in one single diagnosis, rate you, and articulate as clear and concise as they can to give you the diagnostic code that they feel that closely is to what you're experiencing and going through according to your medical records, and they're going to give you that. Okay, rating and that diagnostic code assigned for whatever that mental health condition closely resembles, and then your rating is going to be from the frequency, the severity, the duration. Very, very important. So PTSD, depression, and chronic adjustment disorder are the top three mental health drivers for VA disability claims right now. Okay, so why the numbers are exploding? Okay, there are a few different reasons for this surge in mental health VA disability claims. Okay, there was a stigma. Things weren't really talked about. Veterans weren't really educated while in the service, especially our older veterans, Desert Storm, early years of OIF, OEF. We just suck things up and we deal with it. There's more education and awareness made on mental health, especially since after 2010 and beyond. A lot of Vietnam veterans, there's still some out there today walking around or living that experienced a ton of combat, ton of boots on ground, and don't even have a mental health rating because they just sucked it up and dealt with it. They served, they got thrown out of the service and said, okay, see you later. And then they sucked it up, dealt with it, and continued on to civilian life. But been a break in the stigma. Younger veterans and online communities have made it normal to talk about mental health. Post 9/11 combat veterans are now filing in large numbers after more than 20 years of war. Look, 20 years of war, there's a lot of cost to that, okay? And a lot of lives that were lost. And also that brings VA disability ratings as well, too. Also, military sexual trauma, MST claims are easier to file and no longer require a report from the time of service. Markers like behavioral changes, those will be okay. Those suffice. The VA saw over an 18% rise in MST claims in fiscal year 2024 due to outreach, and that's mostly from female veterans. And the PACT Act encouraged comprehensive claims, which include both physical and mental health conditions veterans. So if you have issues with your mental or physical health, don't let others persuade you it's not important. Get it documented, get the help that you need, take care of yourself. It's very, very important. So increased veterans, reduced stigma among veterans now. We're talking about it more. Expanded VA recognition of mental health severity. Secondary service connections are becoming more common. COVID and post deployment stressors have accelerated mental health diagnosis. Veterans are finally realizing that anxiety, panic attacks, depression, and sleep disturbances aren't just part of life, they're compensable disabilities. Okay. What most veterans still don't realize, here's the part that the VA won't spell out for you. Many health conditions often carry higher percentage ratings, 50, 70, 100%, right? You can qualify under one rating formula. They can influence TDIU eligibility too. Strength, although I'm not a fan of TDIU, by the way, but strengthen secondary claims like migraine, sleep apnea, GERD, hypertension, and more. One solid mental health claim can change the entire structure of your VA disability rating. Secondary connections are the secret weapon. Mental health doesn't exist in a genie in a bottle or just a box. Okay. Depression and anxiety can aggravate or cause migraines, IBS, GERD, sleep apnea, chronic fatigue, substance use disorders, sexual dysfunction, so ED, etc. This is why veterans with mental health claims often have multi-layered VA awards, not because they're gaming the system, but because mental health impacts the whole entire body. So why are so many claims still getting denied? Here's the frustration. Many mental health claims are growing, but so are the denials. Common reasons: weak nexus letters. If you do need help, reach out. We're here for you. Don't fight this battle alone. I'm telling you, we help out people who go and they research on their own and they get a nexus letter and so forth, and it's weak and it doesn't work. No clear stressor explanation, underreported symptoms at compensation and pension exams, veterans minimizing their struggles, inconsistent medical records. The VA rates what's documented. That's why you need to get the treatment you need, not what you endure silently. You can't suck it up and deal with it. You got to speak up. Mental health is no longer the secondary issue in VA disability. It's one of the cornerstones now in 2025 as we go into 2026. The VA is paying attention. Ratings are increasing. Compensation levels are rising. Veterans who educate themselves are winning claims. If you're struggling, you're not weak. Get help. And if you're filing, you're not asking for a handout. You're claiming what you earned. Many people are 10 feet deep in the ground and not here. I have buddies and friends who I know that are not here with me today as well. But don't suffer in silence. Get the help that you need. Don't sell yourself short. Get the education that you need. Get someone who's going to walk alongside you and help you. You guys and gals who've served deserve. Get what you need to get. I have a saying that every veteran deserves the rating that they deserve, whatever that is. Okay. It's very important to understand that. Don't minimize, don't sell yourself short, okay? Vietnam veterans, it's very sad to me, but they are still filing VA mental health claims more than 50 years later because why? We did a disservice to them. We didn't give them the help that they needed, okay? But they're still filing claims. If you are a Vietnam veteran and you do need help, reach out. Very, very important. Female veterans file at slightly higher rates. I just talked about that the other night. Females are getting a little more in VA disability compensation because they're talking about their symptoms and they're filing a lot more mental health claims as well too. So female veterans file at slightly higher rates, largely due to MST. But 2.36 million male veterans also carry mental health ratings as well. VA data shows 24% of female versus 14% of male VA users were diagnosed with PTSD in fiscal year 2024. The VA recognizes over 30, they actually recognize 31 mental disorders for rating purposes out of nearly 300 listed in the DSM-5 manual, focusing on the most common conditions that impact veterans. VA mental health ratings, again, are 0, 10, 30, 50, 70, or 100 based on the 38 Code of Federal Regulations, your articulation, your frequency, severity, and duration of what you're going through. The average VA rating for mental health condition is 70%, with a common average being 50 to 70%. 70% is closely followed by a 50% rating. And remember, you're only allowed one rating for one mental health condition. The proposed VA mental health rating changes would shift to a 5 functional domains model. This is not in effect yet, potentially leading to higher ratings. Claims filed under the effective date of the changes to the rating scheduled would be grandfathered in. So if you're already rated for a mental health condition, you will be grandfathered in under the existing rules if beneficial to you, the veteran. Very, very important. Okay. So, very, very important. If you need to file a claim, if you do need help, reach out to us. We are here for you to put you in the best position to win your claim if that's what you need. We have great doctors that we can point you in the direction to, that know what the heck that they're doing, and they're not going to waste your time. Okay. No one should have their time wasted. You should be going in the direction and be educated on where you need to go and be getting the help that you need as well. So, very, very important, guys. Mental health is now one of the fastest growing VA disability claim categories. And again, most veterans do not realize how powerful these claims can be. Okay. So just make sure you get the help that you need. If you're a veteran filing or considering a VA mental health disability claim, right? This episode right here, this live stream is a must watch. Subscribe for VA disability education. Share with a fellow veteran. Knowledge is power, especially with the VA. Don't give up. Okay. Stay in the fight and keep going. Thank you for your service to our country. Happy holidays to you and your family. Keep staying tuned in, and we're going to keep educating you. Thank you for your service to our country.